Okay, this is the practice test for test number 3. And our first question is to write a function called meal total that will accept two numbers, the cost of a meal and the tax rate. The function should compute the total cost of the meal item, including tax and a tip. Compute the meal total by adding on the tax and the tip. And that's based on the meal cost, not the meal cost plus the tax. So an example is if the meal cost is $50 and the tax rate is 5%, then that would be $2.50 for the tax. The tip would be 15% of that, which would be $7.50, and we would return 50 plus 250 plus 750 is $60. It says do not compute the tip based on the meal cost plus the tax, compute it only on the meal cost. So we're going to call it, and we're going to pass in a cost and a rate. So, and we're going to return the total. So let's flip over here and let's define a function called meal cost. And we're going to pass in the cost and the tax rate, not tax rate, tax rate. Okay, and I need a colon on the end of that. So I need to compute the tax is going to be the cost times the tax, got an extra character in there, times the tax rate. And the tip is going to be the cost times 0.15. And I'm going to return the cost plus the tax plus the tip. Okay. And I've got some calls over here. So let's copy those over, do a Control-C, and flip back over here and paste them in. And it looks like I named my function wrong. It's supposed to be meal total with a capital T. Okay, so we run this. We should get the answers that it says we should get here. I'm going to do a save here, and I'm going to call this test 3 practice. Okay, let's run it. Don't want to see that every time. Let's go ahead and run it. Should see our output down here, and it says it should be 60, and it is. Should be 54, and it is. And if I want those numbers to be up a little closer, so there's not that big gap in there, I just change this to a 0. And let's run it again, and my output should be a little more readable. Okay, that takes care of the first one. So that's meal total. Now we're going to do selection. We're going to compute a discount rate for based on this table here. So the more you buy, the bigger your discount rate. So 10, 100, 1,000, and more than 1,000 are 0, 10, 20, and 30%. So it's going to be called discount rate. So we'll define another function up here. And we're going to pass in a quantity. And if the quantity is less than 0, return 0. And I don't need an else if here because I will return if that's true. If it's false, I'll just go on to the next if. So if quantity is less than, I'm sorry, that should have been a 10, not a 0. If it's less than 10, return 0. If it's less than 100, return 0.10, 10%. If quantity is less than 1,000, return 20%. And if the quantity is less than 10,000, I'm sorry, if it's greater than 1,000, we didn't have 10,000 in there. So otherwise return 0.30. So 10, 100, 1,000. Let me flip back over here and check to make sure that's right. Less than 10 is 0, less than 100, and anything over 1,000 is 0.3. So let's take this code right here. And let's paste it in. And we should get the answers that are specified here. And again, I'm going to delete those ones so we don't have a big gap in our output. Okay, let's go ahead and try to run it. And it should be 0, 10, 10, 20, 20, and 30. So that appears to be working. Let's flip back over to our Word document. And we need some repetition. We want to write a function called SumPowers that will accept two integers. The first argument is less than or equal to 0. Return the value 0. The second number is not greater than or equal to the first number. Return the value 0. If neither of those conditions is true, step through the numbers from the first argument to the last argument and compute the total of the squares of the even numbers and the cubes of the odd numbers. Return this total. Okay. So if the first argument is 0 or less, return 0. So we're going to call this SumPowers. And we're going to just call this low and high. So if low is less than or equal to, come on, 0, return 0. Okay. Now, if that's not true, I'll go on to the next one. And the next one says, if the second argument is not greater than or equal to the first number, return the value 0. So if high is less than, so not greater than or equal to would be the same as less than. So if high is less than low, return 0. Okay, if neither one of those is true, then step from the first one to the last one and compute the squares, total of the squares of the even numbers and the cubes of the odd numbers. Okay, so I'm going to go from low to high. Okay, let's do a total first. Okay, and then go from low to high for I in range. And I got to do high plus 1 because I do want to include high. And I got to check to see if it's even. So if I mod 2 is equal to 0, that's an even number. And then total is equal to total plus I times I. Okay, the squares. And else, if it's not even, that's got to be odd. And total is going to be equal to total plus I times I times I, the cube. Okay, and then we're going to return total. Okay, and we have some code to test that one as well. So let's copy this. And we'll paste it on the bottom down here. And so let's run it and see if we get the answers that it says we're supposed to get. We'll put a space in there though. Oh, it puts a space in there for me automatically. I don't need to do that. Let's go ahead and run it. Should be 0, should be 0, should be 125, should be 173. So it looks like it is working correctly. So this number here would be just 5 cubed, because 5 is an odd number. So I'll put a little comment in here. 5 times 5 times 5. And down here, if we put a comment in, this should be 1 plus 2 squared is 4, plus 3 cubed is 27, plus 4 squared is 16, plus 25 cubed is 125. So if I add those numbers together, 125 and 16 is 141, and 27 is 168, and 4 is 172, and 1 is 173. So it is doing what it's supposed to do. Let's flip back over. and repetition. Write a function called fixedList that will accept a single list of integers. It should return a new list whose elements have all been replaced by the last item on the list. For example, if the list passed in is 1, 2, 3, 4, we should return the list 4, 4, 4, 4 because 4 is the last item. If the list passed in is 1, 9, 3, 4, 3, 2, you should return 2s for all of them. There's 6 numbers, so you get 6 2s. Okay, so fixedList is the name of it. So let's go up here and let's define it. FixedList, and I'm going to pass in a list. And I'm going to create a new list. Actually, I don't have to do that, but I think it's a little bit easier if I do. So new list equals, and for I in a list, so I'm going to go through the loop once for every item that's in a list. What I want to do is I want new list to be equal to new list plus, I want to add the element a list. The last item is going to be -1. Okay, so that'll return the new list. Let's flip back over here and let's see. Our calls look like this. So let's go down to the bottom here. Let's leave a little space, and so we should get all 4s because that's the last item, and there should be 4 of them. There's 6 items. This one, the last one is 2. Should get 6 2s. Okay, let's go ahead and run that. And why is it asking me that now? Could not convert the blank on line 59. Okay, let's cancel that. I wonder if I pasted some junk in for my Word document. Let's try that again. Let's go ahead and try to run it now. And I should get 4 4s, should get 6 2s. So we're good. We've got another one that involves lists. Write a function called inRange that will accept a list of integers, a lower bound, an upper bound, and do the following. Return new list whose elements are only the elements between the lower and upper bound, including both. Okay, so it's inRange, a list, lower and upper. Okay, so I am going to create a new list. It's an empty list. Then I'm going to step through a list. And if I is greater than or equal to low, and I is less than or equal to high, then I want to add it to the new list. I gotta put brackets around it. And when I'm all done, I'm going to return new list. Okay, that's fairly short. Let's flip back over here and let's put some calls in. So it should print 3 4, and it should print 1 3 4 3 2. So let's go ahead and see if that works. So let's run it. So it says it should print 3 4, and it does. Should print 1 3 4 3 2, and it does. So we are probably doing that one correctly as well. We have one more problem to do. And that is Dictionaries and Files. So we don't have to write a function. We're just going to open a file called phonenumbers.txt. Each line has the following format: a contact, first name, followed by a blank, followed by the contact's phone number, and you don't know how many lines are in the file. Step through the file one at a time. Create a dictionary where the key is the name of the contact and the value is the phone number. Okay, and here's what our file looks like. So I'm going to copy this and create my own file. And I need to be in Notepad for that. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to save it in the same folder as my program is, and I'm going to call it, I forgot what it said, I think phone numbers. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. So phone numbers. And that's what I want to read. Okay, so phone numbers.txt. So let's flip over, and we don't have to write a function. We're just going to write code that'll do that. So let's call it phone file. Open. So we'll open up the phone numbers.txt file, and then I'm going to read all of those lines into a list of lines. Okay, so let's say lines is equal to phone file dot read lines. Okay, and then just to see if I'm doing it right, I'm going to print lines. And so let's go ahead and run this now. And the last thing that gets printed out should be my list that has Bob, Joe, Tim, Mary, Karen, Jim, and Charlie. Okay, so that's working. Now what I want to do is I want to create a dictionary. So phone dictionary is going to be an empty dictionary. Whoops, got a curly brackets for that. And I want to step through my lines. So for line in lines, why is it going up to the next line for me when I hit enter? Now what I want to do is I want to pick off the name. So we'll do words equals line dot split. And that should give me a list. And I want to make sure I'm doing it right, so I'm going to print it out. And let's run it again. And every list should have both of those items on it. And the return on the end is considered white space, so it did not return that character, so I don't even have to strip it off myself. So now every time I go through here, words is going to be a name and a number. And so what I want to do is I want to, in my phone dictionary, at words sub 0, that'll be the name, I'm going to put words sub 1, which is the number. Okay, and that's it. When I fall out of there, I'm going to print my phone dictionary, just to make sure that I'm creating the dictionary correctly. And so my phone dictionary ends up being Bob and his number, Joe and his number, Tim and his number, Mary, Karen, Jim, Charlie. Okay, so I am getting the correct dictionary made. And then to test it, we want to enter a loop that asks the user for the name and continues until they enter an empty string. Read the name, and if the name is in the dictionary, display the phone number. Otherwise, say contact not found. Okay, or I didn't follow my own instructions here. I'm saying Bob is not in the dictionary, which I like that one better because it returns the name. So we just need a loop where we ask for a name. So I'm sorry, not for, we don't know how many times it's going to go through it, so it's be while true. I want to get the name. And if the name is equal to the empty string, then I just return break out of here. I forgot my colon. Now, if it's not, then I check to see if it's in the dictionary. If a name is in phone dictionary, then I'm going to print something. Let me see what I'm going to print. Phone number is. Okay, so I'll even make it a little bit nicer for that. And I'll put in the person's name. And I'm going to go to the phone dictionary and retrieve the item that is at position name, period. Okay. And if it's not in the dictionary, then I'm going to print and then when I finally follow the loop, I'll just print done, so I know I'm at the end of the program. Okay. So let's run that. And see, we've got Bob, Joe, Tim, Mary, Karen, so we'll try that. Okay, so once a name, I'm going to do Bob. And I got to get the case right, so it's got to be capital B. And it looks up his number. Let's do Joe. And Joe's is there, and Tim is going to be all threes. And let's do Tom, which is not in the dictionary. It says not in the phone book. Hit enter. And that's the end of the program. And that is the end of the practice test.